The truth about God they never told you is far greater, deeper, and more wondrous than you could ever imagine with the limits of human thought. As an angel sent to bear witness, I speak not of myth, not of man's projections, not of a shadow of divinity, but of the living reality of the one who is love itself. So much of what you have heard in stories and sermons touches only the surface, for the human mind seeks to define and to contain, and yet God cannot be contained, measured, or made smaller than eternity itself. The truth is that you were always held in a love beyond imagining, long before you learned how to spell His name or speak your prayers. The truth is that in His presence, nothing of you is ever forgotten, nothing of you is ever forgotten, nothing of you is unworthy of His eternal care. They never told you that God is not merely watching from a distance as an indifferent ruler, writing down your failures and accomplishments like numbers in a ledger. They never told you that His gaze upon you is the gaze of a lover, a parent, and a creator all in one, burning with tenderness for the very breath you take. Each inhale rises before Him as a song. Each exhale echoes the life He Himself breathed into you. You are not tolerated by God, you are cherished without end. When others described Him as a judge waiting for the moment of your downfall, they forgot to say He is also the eternal embrace waiting to catch you with everlasting arms each time you stumble. To only see Him through fear is to see half the image, to reflect one side of a diamond while missing the brilliance of the other. The truth they never told you is that His justice is not cruelty, and His holiness is not meant to exclude but to welcome you into transformation. He burns away what cannot stay so you may shine in the fullness of who you are meant to be. What you need to know is that God is closer to you than you could ever realize. Humanity believes in distance, imagining Him high above the heavens far removed, but in reality He inhabits every atom, every spark, every fold of existence. When you cry in silence, He is there in the silence. When your laughter bursts without reason, it is His joy stirring within you. The kingdom is not locked away, far beyond your reach, but it is within you, around you, ever present, waiting to be noticed. They never told you that you don't have to climb the highest peaks or cross the earth to find Him, because He has always been nearer to you than your own hands and nearer than your own breath. Wherever you go, you carry the sanctuary with you, because your soul was created as a holy dwelling for His presence. They also never told you that God is more tender than the tenderest love you have yet experienced. No human touch, no earthly bond, no fleeting affection could ever compare to the steadfastness that holds you through your darkest hours. When you felt abandoned, He wept with you. When you were betrayed, He remained faithful. When you questioned your worth, He whispered truth into your spirit. You are chosen, beloved, and eternal. They painted Him as a distant king, perhaps loving yet untouchable. But the reality is that He is both majesty and intimacy, power and gentleness, infinite greatness and incomprehensible nearness. This is why the soul aches, for only the eternal can satisfy the longing He Himself planted in the very core of your being. The truth they never told you is that you were made not for fear but for union. The Creator has always desired to dwell with His creation, not stand apart. Every sunrise and every starlit night was drawn across the heavens, not merely as decoration, but as a love letter written for you. All of creation sings His glory, not so He would be admired in solitude, but so your heart would awaken to wonder and realize you already live inside the embrace of His artistry. You were not fashioned to be abandoned, you were not called to live in despair, and you were not brought forth into the world as an afterthought. From before time unfolded, you were envisioned, dreamed of, spoken into reality with the same voice that carved galaxies into being. The truth is that you are both infinitely small and indescribably precious at once, and within that paradox lies the mystery of His love. When you stumble into error, the world tells you shame is the final verdict. But they never told you that God delights in mercy more than punishment. They never told you that His forgiveness is not reluctant but overflowing, like a river that refuses to run dry. Each time you turn your face toward Him, no matter how many times you may have wandered, He comes rushing to meet you as if you had never strayed at all. This is the heart of God. It is always beating toward reunion, not separation. Heaven does not rejoice in exposing your weaknesses, but in restoring you again and again until you stand renewed. Another truth hidden in plain sight is that eternal life is not a faraway promise only waiting in some distant future. Eternal life begins the instant you open to Him, the moment your heart awakens and says yes to His presence. Bound by time, humanity believes life to be short, fragile, and vulnerable. But God has already placed in you the seed of eternity. Death has no power to sever the bond between Creator and creation. You could never fall beyond His reach. You could never wander too far for Him to call you home. When they told you life ends in fading, they forgot to remind you that in Him everything that is true and good never ceases. Love, once born in Him, lives forever. They also never told you how deeply God trusts you. Many believe trust only flows one way, from believer to Creator. But the stunning truth is that God entrusted humanity with the freedom to choose, knowing that real love cannot be demanded, but must be freely returned. Your choices matter to Him because your love matters. Even when you doubt yourself, He continues waiting, knowing you are more than your mistakes and capable of rising into the fullness of who you were created to be. To give you freedom was an act of divine risk, and yet He counted it worth everything because He longed for relationship, not robotic obedience. Every time you turn to Him, you show that the choice He gave you was not in vain, giving Him joy beyond human understanding. This truth also reaches beyond the limits of words. God is joy itself, and He desires for you to share in it. Too many associate Him only with solemnity or restraint, as if He desires only somber devotion. Yet the reality is that His presence radiates with overflowing joy, brighter than the sunrises of 10,000 mornings. Imagine, for a moment, the way a child discovers the world anew each day. The unbridled laughter that bubbles up from within when they chase a butterfly across a meadow, or the sheer delight in splashing through puddles after a summer rain. This is but a faint echo of the joy that God embodies, a joy that is not fleeting or conditional, but eternal and boundless. It is the kind of joy that infuses every corner of creation, from the intricate dance of stars in the night sky to the gentle unfurling of a flower's petals at dawn. In Him there is creativity, music, laughter, and delight. Even now heaven resounds with celebration, not of perfection, but of love, of grace, of lives turning like flowers to the light. If you look closely, you will find glimpses of this joy hidden in the world around you, in the innocence of a child's giggle, in the burst of colors across autumn leaves, in the quiet companionship of someone who loves you. Each of these is a reflection, a spark of the joy that has no end. Consider how often we confine our understanding of the divine to rituals and rules, to hushed tones in dimly lit sanctuaries where joy seems like an intruder rather than the host. But what if I told you that God's joy is the very foundation of existence? It is the force that set the universe in motion, the laughter that echoed through the void before time began. Think of the artists who pour their souls into canvases splashed with vibrant hues, or musicians whose melodies seem to capture the rhythm of the cosmos itself. These are not mere human inventions but responses to the divine joy that pulses through all things. When you witness a symphony swelling to its crescendo, or feel the thrill of a story that transports you to another world, you are touching the hem of this joy. It is not reserved for the saintly or the serene. It is for the weary traveler stumbling through life's deserts, for the dreamer gazing at the stars, for anyone willing to pause and let it in. This joy defies the shadows of doubt and despair, illuminating even the darkest nights with a light that cannot be extinguished. It whispers through the wind in ancient forests, sings in the waves crashing against rugged shores, and dances in the fireflies that light up summer evenings like living stars. To embrace it is to step into a reality where every breath is a celebration, every heartbeat a note in an endless song of praise. Yet this joy is often overshadowed by misconceptions that paint God as a distant judge, arms crossed in eternal disapproval. How tragic that so many lives are lived in the gray haze of obligation, missing the vibrant spectrum of his delight. Remember the tales of old, where prophets and poets spoke of banquets in the presence of the divine, where wine flowed freely and laughter rang out among the redeemed. This is no metaphor but a promise, an invitation to partake in the feast of existence. In your own life, seek those moments where joy breaks through unexpectedly, like the warmth of sunlight on your face after a long winter, or the unexpected kindness of a stranger that restores your faith in humanity. These are not coincidences but deliberate brushstrokes from the hand of a Creator who delights in surprising us. God's joy is inclusive, embracing the broken and the whole alike, turning mourning into dancing with a tenderness that heals from the inside out. It is the joy that fueled the resurrection, that turned a tomb into a gateway of hope, reminding us that even death cannot dim its brilliance. As you go about your days, let this truth seep into your being. God is not a taskmaster demanding solemnity, but a Father who longs to see you smile, to hear your laughter mingle with the chorus of creation. What they never told you is that you, right now, belong to a story much bigger than you can perceive. Your struggles, your heartbreaks, even your triumphs are threads woven into a tapestry that stretches not only across your life, but across eternity itself. Picture a vast loom where every thread, no matter how frayed or tangled, contributes to a masterpiece of intricate beauty. Your moments of doubt, those nights when tears soak your pillow and questions rage like storms within, are not meaningless detours but essential patterns that add depth and contrast to the whole. God has always seen the beginning and the end, and every moment you live is part of His unfolding plan for creation. Too often the focus has been set only on rules, obligations, and fear of being unworthy. But the truth is that His greatest desire is that you learn to recognize you are already part of His eternal inheritance. You dwell inside His heart even as you walk the earth. What appears chaotic to you is never out of His control, and what feels hopeless to you is never beyond His renewal. Envision your life as a chapter in an epic saga, where heroes rise not through flawless victories but through resilient faith amid trials. The heartbreaks that shatter you, like the loss of a loved one, the sting of betrayal, or the weight of unfulfilled dreams, are the crucibles where character is forged, where empathy is born, and where grace finds its footing. In these valleys God is not absent but intimately present, weaving redemption from the ruins. Think of the ancient stories passed down through generations. A shepherd boy who became a king, facing giants with nothing but a sling and unshakable trust. A woman at a well, burdened by her past, who encountered living water and became a herald of hope. Your story mirrors these, for in the grand narrative no life is insignificant. The triumphs too, the quiet victories of perseverance, the bursts of creativity that bring beauty into the world, the acts of kindness that ripple outward, are celebrated in the heavens, adding golden threads to the eternal weave. But why do we so often feel adrift, as if our lives are mere accidents in an indifferent universe? It stems from a narrowed view that reduces faith to checklists and condemnations. ignoring the expansive love that undergirds it all. God's plan is not a rigid blueprint, but a living, breathing symphony, where improvisation and harmony coexist. He sees the end from the beginning, knowing how your current confusion will resolve into clarity, how your pain will birth purpose. You are not a pawn but a beloved participant, invited to co-create within this divine story, even in moments of apparent chaos. The global upheavals, personal crises, or silent sufferings. His sovereignty holds firm, turning what seems like discord into a profound resolution. Renewal awaits not as a distant promise but as an ongoing reality. Just as spring revives the barren earth, so does his touch restore the weary soul. Embrace this belonging, and watch how it transforms your perspective. No longer a solitary wanderer, but a vital thread in a tapestry of infinite love. There's a secret written in every soul, though many never uncover it. You carry within you a spark that knows him, because you were created through him. Even those who never speak his name carry an imprint of his image. This spark is like a hidden ember, glowing faintly amid the distractions of daily life, waiting to be fanned into flame. It is the quiet intuition that stirs when you gaze at a starry sky and feel a sense of wonder beyond explanation, or when a piece of music moves you to tears without words. He is not only the God of religion but the God of all existence, reaching beyond labels and rituals, because he is simply the I Am. What matters most is not how eloquent your prayers, nor how flawless your works, but whether you allow that inner spark to return to its source. Every moment is an invitation into communion. Every heartbeat is a knocking at the door of your soul, reminding you that God is not far but waiting quietly, gently, for you to look up and remember. This imprint is universal, etched into the fabric of humanity regardless of creed or culture. Consider the philosopher pondering the mysteries of being, the artist capturing transcendent beauty, the scientist unraveling the intricacies of the universe. All are drawn by this spark toward the source of all truth. It transcends religious boundaries, whispering to the seeker in the temple, the wanderer in the wilderness, the skeptic in the laboratory. God's essence as the I Am means he is the ground of all reality, the uncaused cause from which everything flows. Rituals and labels are human constructs, helpful perhaps, but not the essence. The true connection lies in awakening that inner light. Imagine nurturing it like a gardener tends a seedling. Through moments of stillness where thoughts quiet and the soul listens, through acts of compassion that mirror divine love, through gratitude that acknowledges the gift of life itself. Yet, so many souls remain unaware, buried under layers of busyness, doubt, or disillusionment. The knocking persists, a gentle rhythm in the midst of noise, urging you to pause and respond. It might come as a sudden insight during a walk in nature, where the rustle of leaves and the song of birds reveal a harmony that speaks of a greater composer. Or in the depths of solitude, when the masks fall away and you confront the longing that has always been there. Allowing the spark to return to its source is not about achieving perfection, but about surrender, about opening the door to a presence that has been there all along. In this communion, barriers dissolve, and you discover that God is not a distant deity, but an intimate companion, woven into the very essence of your being. And if I tell you more is this, God is not only something to be known intellectually, but to be encountered, to be experienced. Human language, even when stretched across pages upon pages, cannot capture the depth of him. Only the living exchange of relationship can begin to reveal it. Sit in silence and you will begin to notice whispers that are not your own. Step into gratitude and you will feel warmth that cannot be explained. Cry out in desperation and watch as comfort rises within before help even arrives. This is the truth you were not told, that he has made himself accessible to you at all times through all seasons, requiring no grand display. Only your heart turned toward him. To know God intellectually is like studying a map without ever embarking on the journey. It provides outlines but misses the adventure. Encounter him, however, and the landscape comes alive with colors, textures, and surprises. Silence becomes a sacred space where his whispers emerge, subtle nudges of guidance, affirmations of love, revelations that unfold like dawn breaking over the horizon. In gratitude, even mundane moments transform. The steam rising from a morning cup of coffee, the smile of a friend, the breath in your lungs, all become portals to his presence, evoking a warmth that radiates from within, defying rational explanation. It's as if the soul recognizes its home, basking in an invisible embrace. In times of desperation, when the world crumbles and cries echo in the night, his accessibility shines brightest. Call out and comfort arrives not always as dramatic intervention but as an inner peace that steadies the storm, assurance that you are not alone. This relationship is dynamic, evolving through seasons of joy and sorrow, growth and rest. No grand rituals are needed. A simple turning of the heart suffices, a glance upward in wonder, a sigh of surrender in weariness. Experience him in the ordinary, the way forgiveness mends a fractured bond, the inspiration that sparks a new idea, the serenity found in helping another. Each encounter deepens the bond, revealing layers of his character, merciful, wise, infinitely patient. Language falters here, for words are mere vessels. The true revelation comes in the lived exchange where heart meets heart in unspoken communion. When at last your journey reaches the gate of eternity and you behold him without veil, everything you ever thought about God will pale compared to the reality revealed. The one whom angels cry holy is the same one who has walked with you every step, though unseen. Every illusion of absence will dissolve in that moment, and you will realize he was never far, never unfeeling, and never silent. Imagine stepping through that gate, the veil lifting like mist evaporating under the sun, and seeing with clarity the companionship that shadowed your path. The holy cries of angels, resounding with awe, will harmonize with your own wonder as you recognize the familiar presence that guided you through valleys and mountaintops alike. In that revelation, misconceptions shatter. The perceived distance was an illusion, born of earthly limitations. His empathy was woven into every tear you shed. His voice echoed in the intuitions and coincidences that shaped your life. The truth about God, what they never told you, is that he is love without condition, presence without limit, life without end, joy without shadow. Everything else is only a reflection, a fragment, a glimpse pointing toward what your soul has always known deep down. Love without condition means no ledger of merits, no barriers of unworthiness, simply an outpouring that envelops you as you are. Presence without limit spans every moment, from cradle to grave and beyond, an unwavering companion in solitude and celebration. Life without end promises continuity, where earthly endings are but transitions to fuller existence. Joy without shadow is pure, untainted by fleeting sorrows, a radiant constant that illuminates eternity. These truths are not abstract ideals but lived realities, glimpsed in fragments here on earth. The unconditional love of a parent for a wayward child, the steadfast presence of a friend in crisis, the enduring life force in nature's cycles, the unshadowed joy in a moment of pure bliss. They point to the core of divinity, inviting you to align your soul with this profound knowing. As illusions dissolve, gratitude surges for the unseen walks, the silent communications, the feeling heart that beat in rhythm with yours. This is the truth entrusted to me, to speak, that you are beloved, and have always been beloved. God is better, greater, kinder, and nearer than they ever told you. And if you open your heart, you will find this truth waiting, not as theory, not as tradition, but as living fire inside your being, igniting everything with the light of eternity. Beloved from the dawn of creation, before your first breath, in every flaw and strength, this is your inherent status, unchanging and profound. God's goodness surpasses all descriptions. His greatness encompasses the cosmos yet stoops to the smallest detail. His kindness flows like a river of mercy. His nearness is as close as your thoughts. They may have spoken of a stern overseer, but the reality is a compassionate architect, crafting beauty from brokenness. Greater than imagined, he holds galaxies in his palm while attending to your whispers. Kinder than any human measure, forgiving any human measure, forgiving infinitely, healing tenderly, nearer than breath, residing within, awaiting your acknowledgement. Opening your heart unleashes this truth as a dynamic force, not static knowledge but a blaze that transforms. It ignites purpose in mundanity, hope in despair, love in isolation. No longer confined to theories or traditions, it becomes personal, vibrant, eternal, a fire that warms, illuminates, and propels you toward the divine embrace. Let this expanded understanding seep into your days, transforming how you perceive the world and yourself. In the quiet mornings as light filters through your window, sense the joy that God infuses into each new beginning. Amid challenges, remember your place in the grand tapestry, where every thread matters. Nurture the inner spark, allowing it to guide you beyond superficialities. Seek encounters in the stillness, gratitude, and even desperation, discovering His accessibility. Anticipate the unveiled revelation, where all doubts fade. And above all, embrace your belovedness, letting the living fire of truth illuminate your path with eternal light. This is not just a message but an invitation to live immersed in the profound reality of God's boundless love, joy, and presence.